Okay, so allow me to at least share with you some of the insights that became very prominent in today's first travel talk of the Tourism Knowledge Center, powered by Rajah Travel Corporation. So I think the first key takeaway is that tourism is here to stay. Tourism is our very powerful economic engine, and it's not something that we could easily, remove or take away from those that have actually depended their lives, their children's education, their families' health provisions on their tourism livelihood. And the experience of Boracay clearly showed that we really have to do a lot in order to further avoid what we call, actually in the field of economics, the tragedy of the commons that arise from our abuse of our common resources. And the Philippines, as shown by Dr. Mundita Lim earlier, actually has very diverse and very rich natural tourism assets, and we can use them to our advantage. And as she pointed out, tourism and biodiversity need not be in conflict with each other. Instead, they can actually support one another. And even in the discussion of sustainable development, tourism is often mentioned as a very powerful platform to achieve sustainable development in the same way that you can make tourism actually sustainable. Now, the second point rather that I'd like to make emanates from what Dr. Inigo, Ms. Clemente, Dr. Kimba, and Dr. Mundita also emphasized, and that is evidence-based research. And that is where the academe, the young people, and even the private sector and government are being called to actually join this advocacy for evidence-based research and actions. Because it's only by using really evidence in crafting our strategic directions and our action programs and strategic tasks that we can actually make use of tourism as a way to avoid the tragedy of the commons and make it a story of the triumph of the people, as I've always emphasized in today's travel talk. Now, the third is the role of the private sector. And in the presentations of Attorney Nunag and Attorney Asido a while ago, they emphasized the role also of the private sector, particularly in cultural preservation, and in the case of Bohol, also in natural resource management. And when I talk about private sector, I refer not only to private businesses, but also to the communities, community organizations, people organizations, cooperatives, and most especially the youth. You actually occupy 95% of the space in this room. You are part of this private sector, and you have a long way to go in contributing to our pursuit of sustainable development. Now, the major role actually is on responsible conduct, particularly responsible business conduct, conducting this due diligence. And on the part of the youth, you are called actually to utilize your resources, and one of your major resource is actually your creativity. And creativity is a very good platform for achieving innovations. Which brings me now to the next point. For tourism to become sustainable, we need to introduce innovations. And the Knowledge Center actually is a platform for consolidating and expanding the base for innovation. So innovation doesn't apply just to manufacturing industries. Innovation is very crucial in our creative economy. And at the heart of tourism actually is creativity. And as pointed out by Attorney Nunag a while ago, the youth are very good in storytelling. So through your creative spirits and your creative resources, you can do a lot in changing the story of Philippine tourism, and it will be more towards preservation, conservation, while at the same time generating the benefits for all of us. And my last point is that this travel talk session is just the first for us to be able to actually connect with each other. This is the first travel talk session where we try to bring together actually the members or partners of the network, and an opportunity to invite more to join us. So if we look at the case, for example, of telecommunications industry, transportation, like airlines, shipping, okay, their sustainability depends to a large extent on how they're able to build networks. Okay, because in building networks, they gain what we call economies of scale and economies of scope. With the same inputs, they can actually achieve more. And that is really the main role of this knowledge center right now. So we encourage everyone to actually utilize this knowledge center platform as a way for you to communicate your ideas, to communicate ways on how we can all work together in order to achieve this balance between or among the pillars of sustainable tourism: people, planet, and profit. But let's not forget a very crucial element which binds the three together, and that is what we call the institutions. And each one of us actually is a part of that institution. And a very, very powerful institution right now is, we have you all here, the youth. Okay, so regardless of age, we're all young people, I should say. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for this session.